Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, speed gamers around the world, Zelda fans alike. You are tuned into Speed Gaming for another Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 2, Week 4 Mystery Week, Seed, and a race. I am Eudaimonistic, joined today by Marjevich. How are you doing today, Marjevich?
It's another fantastic day in this mystery week of complete mystery, with Death King second for Ursula4115 going up against Ursula from Feline Paralysis. Should be a good match, I hope, because it's mystery. We don't know.
Yeah, pretty much everything is up in the air. One thing we do know already is that we do not have an assured sword right now, and it's not Randomizer. Those would be some things we'd see here in the settings, the title screen, before we'd start. But it looks like they're about to get started here.
And we've had a fair amount of Randomizer, so it's a bit of a nice break to have from that, considering we had Randomizer last week as well.
Yeah, all the possibilities, though, are on the table. I mean, different crystal counts, potentially key sanity, cross keys, even. Lots of things can happen here. So we'll see this unfold. We'll probably see them try to find their goal on the signs near the pyramid as soon as they're able to.
Oh, I have a standard seed today. Oh, hi.
We missed you, Uncle.
Goodbye, Uncle. We will see you once more, and then we will never see you again. Oh, that's just great. Okay, thanks.
That's the best way to wake up.
I mean, at least we know early that it is full key sanity that we have in store for us today.
Alrighty, well, a small trot here in the rain will take us to the castle. We're gonna get some kind of weapon here. We did not have a sword to start.
We take that weapon.
Yeah, so we have an opportunity to check for some prize drops as well from these enemies, because we do have some magic to refill. Neither of them will opt to try and do so. Or actually, yeah, Death King will here. And it looks like we do have a bomb drop off of Ursula's side, so both of them are going to actually get that.
Yeah, so we have the bomb prize pack here with the guards and also the snakes later in Escape, so they won't be having any issues with the bombs in there.
Yeah, bare minimum, we definitely need one. Just to at least make sure we get everything in our whole path here. Magic consumption might be a concern, though. I mean, whether or not we end up getting enough bombs to finish the escape, we definitely can't afford to be wasting a ton of shots.
Like that.
That being said, there are some pots that we can use to kill certain enemies. There just will be 2 required kills that we can't use any other assistance with, this one being one of them.
I don't think we will have a problem with magic anymore, though, because that's a really early hammer. The hitbox is a bit wonky, but you don't have to worry about that magic anymore.
Perhaps sensing the commentator presence and smacking it aside, our hammer will be a great, way to nail down the rest of this escape.
We look at the items we've gotten already, 2 big keys, 2 major items that probably both are going to be required to beat the seed. This escape is pretty stacked.
Yeah, it's a good feeling when you have some of these items that kind of lock some major things. Fire Rod, of course, being fire source, actually a light source as of version 31 in certain places, as well as just being kind of essential for certain dungeons. The hammer, a great weapon. It's basically a tempered sword with a shorter range.
Yep, that is indeed the case.
Well, if we have these 2 great items, there's no way in the world the ball and chain guard can be anything but a map, right? I mean, not literally, but right?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Ooh, Ursula almost not finding out. Both of them actually relatively low in health. Gonna get a small key for later.
Yeah, we do need that key to finish escape, so it still has to be here since it is standard key sanity. It could have been in Dark Cross, but we're getting it already.
Yeah, so a feature of standard, for those of you who don't see these seeds very often, is that we will have a free light cone throughout the rest of the escape. This does not persist elsewhere, so this is just to make sure that we can actually finish the whole rain state sequence and escape the castle.
Yes. Otherwise,
No,
we will be stuck here.
there are some questions regarding map compass key shuffle. I believe it's full key sanity, but I don't think we've actually seen a compass or a map yet, have we?
It is full. If the big keys are shuffled, it means everything is shuffled with the settings that are being run.
Right, because they basically stack on top of each other, like added layers to the mix.
Yeah, it's either nothing, map compass small keys, or map compass small keys big keys. And we have
Well,
everything today.
this does change the balance of dungeons, so whether or not both of our runners today can keep that in mind may end up being the deciding factor here.
Another important thing to note about key sanity is that you need that many more items in order to beat the seed, which means that every location in the game has that much higher probability of having an item, which means that the odds of you being punished for skipping a location is that much greater as a result.
Yeah, so it'll likely come down to how efficiently these two can, actually execute the game, and they are step and step throughout this entire escape sequence, basically synchronized now.
Now, until we find out what the goals, this is a really stacked escape, but until we find out
Goodness gracious.
what our goals are, we don't actually know just how many ice rods we need to find just yet, but there will probably be a couple more.
Well, if the goal is to just find the places where all the items are, then I think they're already well on their way. They are going in that mode currently.
Fire rod, hammer, flute, you have 2 B keys, we're 5 minutes in and it's standard. I mean, you're pretty happy about this start.
Yeah, you already planned to go to Kakariko after this anyway, unless you had like some serious inclinations for Eastern Palace. But we know up. And that's a Cane of Samaria here in the back of the escape, plus a bunch of money. Wow.
I guess we're just finding all the items.
Yeah, so several weapons and fast travel in the first 6 minutes or so. We necessarily took longer in the escape to get everything. And, to make sure we did it with bombs. Interestingly enough, Death King, choosing to kill certain enemies with that fire rod actually ended up finding a 4-bomb pack, which we would have expected from the bomb prize pool.
Yeah, Ursula, on the other hand, not killing many enemies at all and won't have any bombs. Maybe going into the Kakariko. You can still kill some guards along the way and get bombs from those.
Yeah, we've got bombs, the potential for a tree pole if we end up checking, the lumberjack, which I think we might see.
Ursula wants to check that. Now, Aga 1 is locked behind 2 additional small keys, which could be wherever the game puts it, so the probability of Aga 1 for Dark World is much lower in key sanity as a result. It can still be all dungeons though, we don't know that.
All right, well, hearts on tier 1 of the tree pole. The hoarder crab today also hearts, and they heart in the forest. This is a lovely seed.
All the love being shared. Was that a bow? What? That's a bow. Well, I guess we may be doing Aga 1 after.
There's an oops. All losses abound, I think.
Yeah, it could be the second bow, and we could just do silverless cannon. We don't know. Or maybe we don't have to do Eastern and Pod, and we don't have to do GT, and we can skip the bow. We don't know.
Yeah, the thing about a bow being behind the lumberjack is because we do need those 2 additional small keys. If there are any bow lock locations, that have a bow, for example, or if we require one of those locations to get to it, it even more complicates the whole sequence. So there's a lot of crazy things that can happen when something as important as there in key sanity.
And it's definitely something you need to bear in mind, but you can't really do anything about it right now when you're literally every single item in existence away from getting it, and we're just getting items, I suppose.
Finding a pod key and flippers here in the thieves' hideout. I did not see the back. I think Death King's heading there now.
Ursula will have to do the roundabout route here due to not having bombs.
We'll have to yield to the oncoming bomb traffic. We'll stop by the shop, but hoping to actually grab one early. Finding a blue potion to go check Sick Kid as well immediately after. Maybe this will bail her out on that.
It's a super convenient bottle for, well, Moon Pearl for Dark World access. Oh, we got a Castle Tower key as well.
Our Sick Kid's been hitting the gym because he has a lift upgrade for us. That is a power glove, so we are just that Moon Pearl away from the Dark World. Goodness.
We have a sword as well. We have a lot of items in this early game.
That always bodes well, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Definitely doesn't mean that the last item is gonna be in somewhere we'll be checking in way too long.
Alright,
also, it being key sanity, having all these items doesn't matter that much because we still need the keys in order to actually beat the dungeons.
Yeah, so almost in a way it feels like there's good chance for like even more backtracking just because of this. Well, interesting to see here. They have an identical rupee count. Kind of didn't expect that at this point.
And bomb count. And arrow count.
Alright, rapidly changing that. But despite the cavalcade of items so far here, no clear indication of what the best route is right now. We don't have the bow yet, of course, for Eastern, and we might not get it for quite a while. And then South Shore, I guess, is really the only thing that seems appealing after this.
I think you're just probably gonna flute to the dam, honestly, do South Shore.
Of course, while we could check the couple things in the mountain, no mirror, no hookshot, we don't have a book for the desert. I mean, we're not quite at the rupees yet either for Zora, so a fake flipper play doesn't really feel that great.
And you have the flipper, so you don't need the fake flipper, but we can fake flipper a real flipper. That's been done before if you want to do that.
Right. I even called it out. It's here in Thieves' Hideout. So we're not going to fake flipper like you would fake powder, which we do not have either, which it would be nice if we had a mushroom, actually. We could do that here.
We could. We also do have a small key in the library, so we may have to return it back for that later. And something I did mention earlier, every location has a higher probability of having an item you need. So let's just go do the race game instead of hoping that it is nothing, because this time it is dead, but it is more likely in this mode that there would be something there.
Well, out to the South Shore. Death King going to check the dam here, of course, for 2 items as Ursula finishes up the remaining Kakariko checks. Almost done, actually. Should be fluting away here after leaving this Thieves' Hideout. Unless I missed something. Oh, we have to check south of the town. Yeah.
The roundabout route has this issue where you have to walk down and walk up, and then you have to walk down again. Take the merry-go-round. So a reason for potentially delaying the South Shore would be something like you really want to have the Sora rupees, but since you have the flute, you can just easily access the 8 spot anyway, so it's not too big of a deal.
Yeah, and the other hand, too, we do have a glove on it, so we can actually farm rupees relatively easily. If we didn't have that glove, it would be much more painful.
Yep. I mean, we have all these items, but they don't really unlock all that much since we're still stuck in the light world until we get the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, we'll definitely feel pretty powerful when we get to the Dark World. Although I think the next component of that would probably be a hook shot we really want, or maybe the mirror. But before we can do that, where in the world is our Moon Pearl? Remaining question, it's starting to look a little more like Eastern.
Yeah, I think you're wrong.
Easternmost chest of that cave. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, yeah, of course. Just double checking. So, where do we go now? We have Darkwall access with Hammer. We have the Sora stuff. We are going pod.
That's the decision. Okay, so I could see why this makes sense though. If you have a potion, you have magic to refill. So you can do a potion camera unlock to get to the bow lock side if there is something like that. Did Death King see the bow on Lumberjack?
No, only Ursula got that info. Oh, this
Oh,
is a pyramid to get the info.
perfect. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense because while you could go into Palace of Darkness and do quite a lot in there, out of sequence, that would be a pretty gutsy move to make right away.
It is still a bit interesting considering that right now there's no way you can meet the goals regardless of what they are. So you're getting this information right now instead of trying to find some more items and then sort of route in pyramid in some way. Oh, great.
Yo, I called it.
Yeah, I guess we have to go beat Aga 1 anyway.
Oops, all bosses.
So all dungeons key sanity probably means that there is a pendant big key in tile room. Tends to
Because
be
why
that
not?
way. Yep. Well, we're gonna be here for 2 hours, folks.
Perfect. I have a captive audience for the next hour 45.
Yay.
All right, so my next punt. I'm kidding. Though it is interesting to see what Death King's doing here, heading back towards Hype Cave. As you mentioned before, that's quite a long detour to take to find out that information. And had he just been looking for items instead, would have quite a lead right now over Ursula, who is probably pretty close behind at this point.
Man, those guards are just throwing all the spears today. Yeah,
Well,
this is
hopefully definitely sees
this is going to be a massive ice rod hunt today for all the ice rods. Like that's an ice rod that we got just there with the desert big key.
the proverbial ice rod parade.
It's the ice rod sanity today, folks.
Well, I hope everybody's snug and bundled. We don't want anybody to be feeling too cold for all those ice rods we're going to be searching for. Yeah, those one-off could be anywhere things. Probably going to be a source of frustration today.
It's gonna be 2 long hours, folks.
All right, we don't got to make it sound like Stockholm syndrome, man.
Well, it's been a few years since I last visited the capital, but whatever fits your bill, man.
I hear it's a lovely place. But here in Hyrule, we don't have such a thing. These two looking to unfold this, I guess you could call it origami of a key logic, which we anticipate. We don't know quite yet. It could be friendly. We're just seasoned enough to know better.
In key sanity, you just tend to want to hello guard. Just skip the key logic whenever possible. Like you don't want to get every pod key before you go and clear pod, and the turtle rock you can get by with 3 instead of 4. We'll see how they handle desert with the small key there. Because of how the key logic works, you will logically need the small key to beat the boss, but that is just because of the fact that you can steal the key in the back.
Well, one thing that I've noticed, about key sanity as well is that sometimes finding safeties in visible places is actually even more exciting than finding in like a required item. Just for the fact that some of those visible locations, like Lake Hylia Island, are just awful to get back to. Finding a heart there, oh great, I don't have to deal with it.
Woohoo. I guess a positive thing about this is that we're probably going to find boots at some point because of the bow at Lumberjack. And yeah, I know. Oh, at some point, yeah, because sometimes you just don't find the boots.
It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be next week. Well, we might never find them actually.
Yeah, and then we never get that bow. And we have to make do with a different bow because we will need a bow.
Yeah, I do think that you're right though. We'll probably find those boots sooner than later.
And GT small keys is also something else where you just completely disregard the logic.
Well, a Skullwood's decision for Death King here. trying not to live up to the name, I suppose, because he's at 2 hearts here and has to watch out for pretty much every enemy in this dungeon. May end up deciding to take a tactical death warp or death health refill once he gets into the back half of the dungeon. I'm not sure.
I mean, this is gonna be a pretty rough Mothula fight here with the 6 Hearts Fighter Sword. Does have the blue potion.
And in the meantime, we'll see Ursula taking the Hype Cave route, making those checks to try and catch up to Death King's exploration advantage right now.
I do think that since it is mystery and you would like that goal, that you just take Hype Cave into Pyramid here and get that information, and then you could continue up the Catfish if you want to.
I will say the one thing that made most sense about the way Death King approached. Ooh, geez, watch it. Both of them almost died there. About Death King's approach to the goal was just the fact that he started from the 5 spot, for the flute, and then walked to Hype Cave from there. So that worked out a little bit nicely.
Yeah, it did. Another thing to note is that since we know this is all dungeons, don't expect us to figure out if something is a crystal or a pendant, because sneaking suspicion they're not going to open the map to check what that is, because you have to beat every dungeon anyway.
Yeah, at the very worst case scenario, it would be like opening your map to figure out, oh gosh, where did I actually pick up that green pendant or the 5-6, like if we run out of stuff to check, which honestly will be unlikely.
It's a super unfortunate death for Ursula on the way to the pyramid.
Alright, not to be knocked down, we'll end up trying to get back over the pyramid as we see the Mothula fight here going on for Death King with Fire Rod plus Hammer in a good spot, but it's kind of hard to hit him.
Yeah, and have to be careful. 6 heart screen mail, you're taking a lot of damage here. Really good fight though. I mean, that helps. Now we know also that it's just regular good old difficulty, right?
Yeah, so at least getting the armor tells us a little bit more about the seed, as the difficulty settings for the items are definitely a factor in Mystery Week. We could have seen an expert seed, and we don't have that, thankfully. So getting that blue mail, more information, good to know.
Ursula's gonna get this old Dennis information soon. Death King walking back. Probably just going Village of Outcasts to Thieves Town. You do have the big key for Thieves Town, but you don't have the small key.
Yeah, so at least the 4 checks, and then of course, if you wanted to, could walk over to check to see what's on the bumper ledge. I don't think you would without the cape, but the information's there if you want it.
If you do walk over there now, you're probably not going to return back for a potential graveyard ledge check later. Ooh, is Ursula going pod? Nope.
So Catfish is like a gutsy decision to make. That is one long check that is pretty invested, and in a key sanity situation, it could end up being something that makes the next 2 dungeons you do more efficient by consequence of good routing, or it could end up being something that like your opponent doesn't check till like the very end,
Yeah.
and they save time on it. So without the mirror, this is even more punishing because it's harder to go to Zora.
Yeah, Ursula's already been at Sora though, except actually getting the Sora item due to lacking rupees. So if you're not checking this now, the only time you would be checking it would be after Graveyard Ledge, which is the issue that Death King is going to have if the Catfish has something of importance.
And our Catfish Quakefish friend today has something important.
I mean, that changes your entire route. Now you don't have to save and quit because you could just hookshot across, but apparently we're still saving and quitting, and that is probably going to be a last location situation for Death King.
I mean, you don't have to save and quit. Now that hookshot does give you, potentially the mountain, as well as Well, I'm not exactly sure what we're seeing with the hookshot here, to be entirely
Yeah,
honest.
me neither. We have a sword in Thieves Town, that's nice, but we're seeing Sahasrara Easter. It's pretty weird to me because you have the entire mountain open to you.
Like, I mean, every check's always, in the early spheres of the logic is always a good check. It's just, it's a little weird, the timing.
Ursula seems to want to be quite thorough with these early Sphere 1 checks and get the screen pendant Ice Palace information.
Yeah, I definitely don't fault her for that. That's definitely a smart thing to do in general, is just to make sure you are thorough with the early game stuff, because oftentimes, you just end up shooting
Oh,
yourself in the foot.
that could be a very important small key to have before going into Thieves Town.
Yeah, we see Death King here with the big key in hand does not have the small key, so I mean that's a guaranteed double dip for him, and potentially, depending on how Ursula does the rest, you know, I mean, she has the big key, so yeah, one single dip and we'll end up going right there.
Yeah, I think Ursula's just gonna go into Thieves Town here. May do Skullwoods first, like Death King did here, because you can clear that. And then you can 100% clear Thieves Town as well right after.
Well, I gotta say, I wasn't expecting that decision, but it was a clutch decision from Ursula to go check out Eastern. Just as valid of a choice as any other, just not what you might expect.
Oh yeah, if that is an important item, like the hookshot or catfish, or we're getting into last location situation later, that's gonna be pretty bad for Death King.
Well, Death King, not deterred yet, is heading to the attic here of Thieves Town, has already done most of the dungeon here. But, without that other small key, there's a guaranteed check missing in the basement.
So far we got the sword. Over in Thieves Town, the GT keys don't really matter. Since Ursula didn't go Skullwoods now, does that mean that they're gonna go up and do that after this? Then you're probably saving and quitting after Skullwoods, or are you continuing south and getting the digging game?
Yeah, hard to say, because, I mean, I'm definitely one myself to route the entire village before I do Thieves Town, just in case I need something to go in there. I mean, Key Sanity is always a different, equation altogether. But yeah, I mean, if you can find extra health or a better sword going in there, that's always a good feeling.
And this is sort of the corner that you put yourself in if you don't start with Skullwoods like Death King did, because when you're done with Thieves Town, you have to make the choice, south or north. And if you go north and do Skullwoods, then why didn't you just start with Skullwoods? Because it would have been faster in that way. Which means that Ursula is probably going south. Or north and saving and quitting after Skullwoods, because if you go south, you can't go north out after that because you don't have MIPS.
Right, which is the pitfall, potentially. With Flute,
Yeah.
it's not super awful. You just gotta walk around, and that's no fun.
Yeah, it's still slower than you starting with Skullwoods and then going south.
Well, we did find a big key for Eastern Palace in the Maiden Cell. Death King's already returned all the way upstairs to the boss fight here, so this would be a scripted blind fight as usual. Should be pretty straightforward.
Yep, should be the case. So Ursula's gonna go into Thieves Town as well.
Well, a little off script, but Death King has managed to complete the blind fight here, so we have one pendant and one crystal.
This is all dungeons, so these are roughly worth the same depending on whatever's on the pedestal and whatever is the access for GT.
I would really revel the day we see a GT big key on pedestal. That'd be just hilarious. Just on its face, even if it was all dungeons.
2 hours later.
Yeah, so another piece of information we're lacking currently, because this is mystery, of course. is how many crystals we need to get into Gan's Tower, and we may end up being required to do Gan's Tower even somewhat early, even though we are about half an hour into it.
Yeah, we'll take some time before we figure out that, since we will have to go up the mountain and get the myths. Ah, well, that's really nice to have.
Threads of a different sort, I suppose.
I mean, you take the free red mail if you can.
So a little more insurance for our fight going forward. Death King going to loop around back south, having done everything on the west side, which, as you mentioned before, very convenient routing. If he does take this all the way north to Palace of Darkness, that may lead to a chain that takes him all the way to Catfish.
Or not. It's a long way to walk to get to Catfish. That's the concern here for Death King.
So I think you'd at least flute over east if you're gonna go to Palace of Darkness.
You have 2 pod small keys. You have a bottle for sequence breaking. You got the eastern big key. You have fire rod, but you don't have the. So you can not kill the boss because you will need the bow.
And we are boots locked for the only bow that we know of.
Yeah, and also we will need another key, and we will also need a lamp. Interesting though to go into Eastern before checking Sahasrara.
Yeah, I do find that kind of surprising.
Yeah, because their bow could be there, and then you have to go back in.
All right, well, here is this small key, big chest check from Ursula here. This is potentially a really critical moment based on where we ended up finding that small key.
Good for Death King,
Nice.
that is nothing. But if this does come down to last location situation, that's a big pain for Death King to come back to.
All right, another small difference in their routing, producing a extra 2 screen transitions here for Death King to get this item here on the right side of Eastern Palace. The decision to come here at this point for the Bombos might end up paying off, though. We don't necessarily need it later, but maybe for entrance to a dungeon or cold stare.
Yeah, you can use it to preserve some magic on Cold Stare. We don't know if we're gonna need it for Mire or Turtle Rock just yet. Ursula is definitely not on script here. In fact, this is a pretty dangerous situation.
That's a good save and smart to use the sword beams here.
Well, as long as you win, it's better than dying.
Yeah, full agree on that, and a victory it was. Ursula has taken down Blind at the cost of a blue potion. May end up refilling that later. We still are not actually on Zora money either of our runners, over half an hour in, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be spending those rupees to buy a potion to sequence break over pod when you're still lacking in the Sora money department, and you will need 110 rupees to get into pod as well. We did see half magic in Eastern, though.
Yeah, so it looks like that was right after the Stalfos room, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the compass in vanilla.
Yeah, that's correct. So we'll see Skull Woods here from Ursula, and then I have to imagine right up the mountain, since it's no longer appealing to try and sequence break as you mentioned, and she knows actually where that bow is at.
Yeah, having that bow information is super valuable in the weirdest way, as long as there isn't anything important in Eastern or pod, because having that information is probably gonna mean that you're not going there. Gonna have to wait about that mushroom though.
Yeah, so that mushroom, not friendly. You can use it for a fake powder if you want to do that before you turn it in. The issue is that you have half magic, so that's not exactly a lot of fun to spend all that time depleting magic and then not have the refill.
Yeah.
So we might not see that turned in, or maybe it gets save scummed.
We'll see
I
how
don't know.
that will be handled. It is a very quick check with the flute. I don't know, I just feel like you use the hook shot up the mountain, you have a hammer to go into Hera. You don't have any keys for Hera, but you know, there's probably something up the mountain.
And plus, with the hook shot, whether or not these two are comfortable with doing it, you could potentially Harapot and finish the boss at the bare minimum. So, I mean, there's a gamble
Yep.
you could potentially take there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you take it and just hope that you don't need whatever's in the big chest. Okay, well, we have Lamp. Wait, Death King didn't get that, but
Yeah,
beat Skullwoods? And Ursula is not gonna kill the boss?
that part I find a little weirder. She may have forgotten, just judging by like the hesitation there on the save and quit menu, or at least on the respawn location menu. That's unfortunate because it's not very friendly to go back there. I mean, you can do it pretty quickly, but it does take you some time to get, back through that whole sequence. If we have Titan's Mitts, it's not as painful, but still.
Yeah, that is true. It just seems weird to not go through with the Skullwoods kill. Because you're there and you did just get the Master Sword. You know the objective is to kill all the dungeons. Oh, was key locked? Oh, that's probably also why Death King didn't get the lamp. That would make a lot of sense then. But it would also be a bit confusing to prioritize that item location over the boss when you know that you have to beat the boss.
Yeah, that might be one of those things where, the location just kind of gets forgotten because you're so used to, hey, I've done these things, in the dungeon. You're used to these item counts. That's rough news for Death King, though. I mean, every single dark room slower in all likelihood. And then, of course, the information that gives you.
This lamp puts that mushroom in logic.
Yeah, that's correct. We found it
And
behind Eastern Palace dark rooms.
yeah, that is true. So I don't know, that mushroom could actually be something then.
So, Death King here gonna head up to the mountain. That was a Skullwoods map inside Skullwoods. That's funny. Gonna head up the mountain, and we do not have a mirror or a hook shot. We could find the mirror here. That'd be interesting.
You find the mirror here. Guess you can do Graveyard Legend to Catfish later with Hasora check. So the mirror would actually be pretty good for Death King.
Yeah, unfortunately, just a shield and a piece of heart. So, gonna flute away from there. Ursula will absolutely get a lot more checks for his mileage when he heads up there.
And Death King is out of good options basically without that hookshot to go to the side of Death Mountain and get all the stuff that's hopefully there.
Okay, so Ursula heading back to Skullwoods to finish off Mothula. We find the Ice Rod Cave is just a little bit of cash, maybe much needed cash, though. Death King, very likely, I have to think, when thinking about Ice Rod Cave, to consider the Zor area. So we're going to see some rupee farming, actually, just to be sure.
Oh, Master for Ursula.
Yeah, that's an extra painful one to get because of the magic situation. Since he doesn't have that blue potion anymore, that's no longer an option.
And the other bottle is a fairy. Oh, yeah, you want that. You really want that item.
Some heads up awareness about how the tiles work. That's a very easy thing to forget in the moment when you're like, oh no, I need to be there now. A lot of people I know would just take the fall, and that's one less heart they'd have in the fight.
Probably would have taken out the hookshot and just grabbed it.
Yeah, that's an option too.
Sometimes you don't want the menu. Because then you have to menu back the Fire Rod again. It's 2 menus. It's a lot of time.
Alrighty, well, as we see Ursula's Mothula fight, we're gonna see Death King head over to Hobo as well. So with Master Sword and Fire Rod and a few shots to work with, again, still a challenging fight. Ursula does have a little more health to work with.
And that fairy in the back as well. Health isn't really the concern, it's just Mothula behavior. Or maybe health may be a concern after all, because you can only take that many hits.
Alright, well, that is 7 hearts to work with on the second attempt here, with still some magic. So there was a lot of Master Sword being used initially. That does make this second part of the fight a little more straightforward, and that'll be enough for Ursula to pull it out and finish up the boss. So that'll be blue mail for Ursula. We will likely see red mail after this if if he ends up continuing south. He could end up going east, though, as we talked about before.
Yeah, it's just going south right now is pretty awkward. Because you have to save and quit again, and flute to CAC again, and then enter the Dark World again. Or walk. And the walk is also pretty long.
Yeah, so I think what we were talking about before heading up to the mountain is likely. We will get to see a Zora check here from Death King, which is new information for us. The first of our 2 today, 40 minutes in to hit 500 rupees.
I did spend a lot of time farming those rupees, so they better be valuable.
What, the rupees or what they purchase?
What the purpose? Purchase. The purpose of the purchase.
The purposeful purchase, it wasn't a porpoise. It's a Zora.
Here we go again.
Oh boy.
That key is whatever.
Oof.
We just don't really care about GT keys.
Yeah, so we have a handful of them, but I mean, unless it's like 1 crystal requirement, I don't think that's relevant for quite a while.
Well, minimum is 3 as per the settings, so that's not happening.
Yeah, so even in the most extreme crystal situation, it would be quite a while.
Yeah.
As for our keys, though, not a ton, honestly. We've been finding some big keys decently at a good clip, but the small key situation, not amazing.
Still need for Swamp, for Turtle Rock, logically for Desert, and Pod is Pod, Castle Tower.
Alright, so we didn't get fake flippers earlier, of course, but we will get fake powder today. I'm sorry, fake powder doesn't have the powder.
Just regular fake today.
This is a little underwhelming. However, the check itself, even more underwhelming.
Yeah, that was very much underwhelming.
Minimal whelms happening here.
I guess you're just gonna hand in the regular mushroom then, and maybe that has something more important. Maybe go do something else. Another pod key. Great.
Yeah, you definitely want to find as many as possible before you even consider, sniffing the air in the region of the dungeon, if possible. But you would definitely settle for having a mirror, at least first, if nothing else.
Sniffing the pod?
You would simply not even breathe the air nearby without at least considering your key count.
Okay, sure.
Well, bunch of cash in Paradox Cave, not a whole lot else. We did find a red boomerang.
This is really disappointing.
Yeah, walking out with nothing but lag. More rupees on the counter, even that contributes.
Come on, game, we need more ice rods.
Alrighty, well, with the bomb jump, we will get to see Spiral Cave as well, and if not that, then definitely Hera. One of the two on the table for Ursula. I have to imagine Hera is probably the more appealing choice.
Ooh, but if you go Hera first, you have the choice between Spy Cave and Spiral Cave.
That's a good point, too.
It is a sequence break, if I understand the logic correct, but you do have the fairies, you can make it. But with this route, you'll be checking both.
Well, as of right now, Ursula doesn't actually have a fairy.
Do you see where Death King is?
Ooh, wow. This is going to be a return to the basement chest here. So this is, well, a convenient magic refill, I guess. But more importantly, a very lengthy check for just 10 arrows.
That was mentioned earlier that if we get into last location scenario, this is gonna take some time. That mix is really nice for Ursula, though.
Yo!
Since you don't have the mirror, you want to end your Light World route before you go into the Dark World, which is why Ursula is not going in right now.
Well, I gotta say, it was really clutch to grab those.
Or maybe... okay, I guess we're not doing Hera.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe an optimistic hope for a mirror in one of these two Super Bunny checks, or the Hookshot Cave. I mean, that's... Well, so maybe, I mean, it's just the decision to try to, get the most value out of finding a mirror here.
This is an interesting Death Warp that you don't see very often from Death King and grabs the fairy as well.
Oof. I'll tell you, though, this is probably the more fun Death Warp to see.
Better savor this, because maybe the only time you see this Death Warp in the entire league. The Myths opens up the Ice Palace, the entire Mire area, the Smith Chain, Dark Death Mountain, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so quite the head start for Ursula here. Really taking advantage of the extra heavy lift power to explore more difficult to pick up, spots.
And Death King is now going back in to get the lamp in Skull Woods.
Oh, well, that's good news for how Death King approaches the logic itself, because the more things you know about, the easier it is to kind of understand what the game expects from you. So even if the lamp itself probably not super critical, there are a lot of hard dark rooms that will make things quicker. Oh yeah, Death King's skipping that chest because he's coming back through. I got very confused there for a second.
We'll need Quake for Turtle Rock, so there won't be a bomb boost advantage for Death King on the climb.
Yeah, still potential for Misery Mire, which is an area that's now accessible at the bare minimum. With geez, watch yourself, Ursula.
That line was in an awful position. Thankfully, Blue Mail does negate some damage.
All right, what's our GT requirement?
Okay.
5 crystals. Okay, so I mean, there's a configuration of 5, depending on what we end up uncovering to be the crystals, that may end up requiring us to go in there. So that could be interesting.
I mean, it's all dungeons. It's just a question of when can you do the climb, because you may have to go into GT to get the other key for Castle Tower, so you can go get your bow, and then you can go back and climb the gauntlet. There could be some really bad logic here, because it's all dungeons key sanity.
Yeah, and this logic already throwing our 2 for a loop. Death King, unfortunately, trying to exhaust the locations. However, we'll actually walk away from Palace of Darkness here, which will likely take him towards Catfish. That's really good for Death King.
And what else does Death King have left to check?
Not quite a lot, honestly.
Don't really know if there is anything. Did Ursula not check what Meyer was?
Yeah, I missed that myself, to be honest.
Okay.
Alright, so we're going to get the hook shot for Death King here. Really important to have done this before going into Palace of Darkness, simply for not having potentially uncovered more things to check. So that will help him get up to the mountain, sort of catch up a little bit with that Titan's Mitts acquisition.
Yeah, Death King is a little bit behind here because of how this routing worked out for them. Ursula is gonna opt to go straight into pod here.
Yeah, so this is a potentially interesting scenario because if you find that this is bow locked, it's not really all that fun to come all the way back here. With a flute, it could be, it's better than it could be. But Palace of Darkness might tell us quite a lot.
You have 2 small keys, so you can do something in there. We don't know how much.
This is also a scenario where something like being able to hammer jump, also known as the bomb jump rail clip for the big chest, could be pretty important. I mean, that's 3 checks that you could do with 1 less key.
Yeah, that is the case. Just reminded of that old seed from the 2017 Key Sanity tournament that was soft locked because of the key logic, and either player knew how to hammer jump.
Yeah, thankfully a lot of those scenarios have been cut out. That's a big key to skull.
Okay. Interesting.
So, of course, unless we happen to find a bow in here, there's no chance of us actually, going all the way to Helmsor King. But of course, since we have keys we're bringing into the dungeon, we can at least go through the front. Ursula does not have any potions to do a potion camera unlock glitch, whether or not he knows how to do it. So we'll end up spending one of them on the front door, which is costly if you're trying to explore as much of the dungeon as you can. However, one more key usage for the back part of the dungeon will get you quite a few checks.
So the question is how Ursula wishes to spend that key.
Yep, one more check you can do here in the pit. We'll find a Hera compass, which is pretty useless to us, but at least it's one less location you check on the next time through here.
Yeah, so Ursula can either just trade a key here for 1 item or continue to go deeper, or probably go deeper.
So we're arriving at that same gambit from earlier. Does Death King go to Spiral Cave right away or Hera? Because that might actually be pretty important. And
Yeah,
Hera.
Hera. And this makes a lot of sense. It's a dungeon that you know you can beat since you have the hookshot.
Yeah, and any other possible requirements for any locations here are all covered as well, so definitely a very safe decision to make. Alright, well, Ursula continuing on into the basement of Palace of Darkness here. Has lamp, has fire rod, plenty of options for doing all these things logically.
Also taking the time here to farm rupees.
I like that decision. This is probably one of the most efficient ruby
Oh.
routing. Ooh.
That mirror is very useful and very much required, and it's gonna make Ursula pretty sad.
Yeah, so with that, Death King going to immediately attempt a Herapod, knowing that, hey, the situation's ripe for, completing this and taking advantage of that mirror right away. That's an exciting development, a big thing that Death King needed to swing this race back in his favor.
Oh yeah, that's a massive pickup. Because Ursula's now probably gonna go back into Skull Woods and open the big chest. Which could have something, we don't know, but mirror is a little bit more useful. Probably, definitely, it's required.
Well, one thing we will not see is the big chest of Tower of Hera, because there is no big key, so that is one thing alongside the basement check that Death King will be leaving behind.
Okay, so Ursula is not checking that, so we're probably gonna see digging game into Smith Chain then. Oh, mirrorless Smith Chain.
Not at all something you enjoy witnessing.
Especially when we can see that their opponent has the mirror and the ice rod.
You'll love to see it.
We got the actual ice rod. Now we just need a couple more.
Yeah, I think there's still a couple dozen potentially, right?
Well, there's a good amount of big keys left, like Pod. There's a small key to Swamp. There's the big key and two small keys to Turtle Rock. It's a small key to Castle Tower. Gannis Tower big key, of course, the Ice Rod of Ice Rods.
Yeah, I think that Castle Tower key is going to be even more interesting than, say, like the boots. Just because, we know we need the boots to get the item, the bow, behind the lumberjack, but you could even find them in the Castle Tower. So, like, if we ever do find that key in short order, if it's, like, later, that might lead to some pretty weird situations.
We do also know that the boots do lock a small key in the library, but we don't know how important that key is.
However, we do know the importance of a slow spiral cave today, going to get us our Titan's Mitts for Death King. So the important differences in progression kind of evened out and now weighing in his favor. With that, mirror has some options. Ursula here going to do something that we know, as we just mentioned, is slower to do in this particular way without the mirror. But there's still other checks you can do. I think I like what Ursula's doing here, though, checking the hammer pegs just in case it's mirror.
Yeah, this is what you're intended to do if you really want to avoid to do purple chest. If we do actually look at what this mirror opens up, it's K45 or whatever you want to call it. You have Graveyard Ledge. It gives some form of swamp access. Because we don't have the small key, so we can only check one chest there. The Desert Palace is also open, and we can beat the dungeon, but logically we can't because of how the key logic works. We can kill the boss, even though the boss is not logically available.
Yeah, still some potential for some important items there. So, which double dips our runners really want to commit to is kind of like the question that's lingering. Well, Hookshot Cave for Death King here as he finishes up the rest of Death Mountain. Ursula has kind of, a bit of a crossroads here. After you do the Smith Chain, you have a lot of unfriendly checks to make.
Yep. Purple Chest, Hera, Mystery Mire, Eastern Palace, Skullwood's Big Chest.
But on the bright side, not Thieves Town Big Chest, which would have been pretty painful.
Yeah, Death King already did that one. Oh dear.
I would say, though, that Death King is in a position to spend a lot less time last locationing in the seed. That mirror alone makes every bit of routing from here on quite a bit easier to deal with.
Yeah, the mirror flute combination just makes it very easy to get around the world, since you don't have to worry too much about saving, quitting, or doing very long Dark World trips.
All right, where does Death King put you from here?
This makes sense.
Yeah, so we didn't see Misery Mire before, but we will now.
So Mire is also the last pendant, so this does give us all the crystal information. Except we don't know where the other 5-6 is. Okay, we just found Bombos. We have Hookshot to get in. We have Kane. This is beatable, right?
Yes, absolutely it is. I mean, nobody likes doing it with Master Sword, but it's doable.
We can sequence break the pedestal right now.
Uh, There's a configuration of words my ears just heard that I don't think I've ever processed mentally, and I don't ever want to again.
I mean, the thing is that you have to beat Ice Palace anyway, so why not just sequence break it?
What are you gonna fake pendant?
All pendants are fake.
Well, I mean, you put the thought in my mind. Now I have to live with it. So I hope
Congratulations.
that pedestal has nothing important.
I mean, it's Old Onion, so it's not the biggest thing. So, like, whatever.
It's just that's great. Well, we might end up seeing that wish come true. That is something that someone might consider, particularly if you already plan to say go to Ice Palace next, which is a reasonable decision to make. We have everything we need to do it.
Yep. So Ursula's gonna go through this Eastern and get Bombos, which could lead into Mire, but that's still no mirror.
Yeah, and that's one of those feels bad things about not having it is just you can't go right into desert to do all those checks. You know, the efficiency of that is lost a little bit, even though it's not awful. Death King, you missed the torque.
Yeah, Death King.
Living up to the name.
Yeah. Can't say you often see people take a death in that room, but that's all because you miss a fire rod shot and then the tiles just takes a fun little merry-go-round and kill you.
It was one of those things where you thought you were facing down, he ended up facing left, but you know, if anybody did ever take a death there, it was for that reason.
I mean, Death King has taken some unusual deaths, both that and the Thieves Town in the Big Chest. We're definitely getting some interesting scenarios today.
I can definitely personally relate to it. Mystery is something that really puts you off your footing, you know, and so it's very easy to kind of be thinking in a moment and miss something and then have a reaction to that. That leads to situations like that. So I doubt he's going to mess that up twice, but it's definitely something that kind of shows just how much more difficult it is to play a mystery suit.
It's an old Dungeons Keys. Death King, you forgot to flip this.
I mean, it was on a revival. It makes sense that you'd forget that.
Oh boy. So will they still be lit? Okay, they're still lit. So we don't need to relight torches.
Shoutouts for not letting them go unlit. But that will be a shovel, so that's great.
Yeah, that could be something. The thing now, you have the mirror and you have the flute, so saving and quitting to something like Link's House isn't really something you will be doing quite often, or frequently, or whatever, but you can always just flute to Link's House if you so desire.
Yeah, so definitely not an awful feel to do that. Did we ever see the mushroom get turned in by Death King?
Did Death King check Catfish before checking the mushroom?
I honestly don't remember.
That would be very interesting.
Alright, well, Death King will be getting through pretty much all of Mire here, getting all the way to the cutscene chest here, just for some bombs. Did not have max bombs, so I guess that kind of worked.
Well, we'll be seeing the mushroom.
Yeah, and of course we found out that the magic bat wasn't anything too critical, so this is a decent chunk of time saved for Ursula here in the grand scheme of things, even if you end up checking.
Okay. Yeah, that second castle tower key may be somewhere very, 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 very deep into the seed.
That is just a cacophony of awful things happening all at once, echoing in the skulls of everybody's logical processing units.
Small key for Swamp, yeah, for Death King.
Which is awesome because that opens up a lot of checks in Swamp.
Wait. You needed to go into Eastern to get the mushroom to get your bow, so you can go back into Eastern. The mushroom was in the big keys chest, so it was technically a big key that you needed to open whatever location gave you the bow.
Didn't we get that on Death Mountain? The big key for Eastern? Or was that in Thieves Town?
No, I don't remember where the big key was.
I want to say it was in Thieves Town, the Maiden's Chest.
Oh, yeah. It was probably in Thieves Town.
But yeah, so I mean, like all over the place we've had to go already.
I guess the question is then, do you pick up silvers? I guess if you're a Master Sword, you probably do.
I think a large part of me thinks that, we're gonna find a third sword with how many keys we still have to find. I mean, but then again, maybe we just uncover barely enough, and yeah, I mean, silvers would definitely be part of the equation if you knew you were going to go into that Ganon fight with just Master Sword.
Yeah, and when you get boots, and if it lines up well, you can just check bonk rocks, and then you can go and bonk into the lumberjack tree. Death King still doesn't know any of this.
Yo, Ice Rod set up for Spooky though.
Yeah, and then you get hit a bunch.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off with that. That was just exciting, rarely seen tech.
Wait, did you cut me off? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I'm sorry.
I do that as well.
Well, we will get a spooky action glitch here in the back half of Misery Mire, at least for that first room. The second one, you would need to have boots in order to scroll the screen. Unless I'm remembering this wrong, maybe he's got a setup here. Yo, that's sick.
Apparently there's a setup.
Yeah, so the altitude variable is different than what I thought it was. That's a range for all 3 rooms. That's more than... Well, it's about 10 seconds he saved there.
So do you like doing this fight with Master Sword and bombs?
Not really. I'm known to actually expend all my arrows before the second half. Don't do that, folks. It's a bad idea.
That's a good armless fight from Ursula.
Yeah, and a bottom strat too as well, which I wouldn't say is less common, but maybe a little bit trickier for lining up the last one compared to top armos.
We can see Death King still has that mushroom.
Yep, we get an auto menu to show us that.
You run out of bombs, and then you get this room.
Yeah, you'd commonly see that used in the speed run for switching to Fire Rod and GT. Definitely gotta watch out.
This is interesting, since Ursula now has the bow, don't need to attempt to do this castle tower in one go. Death King takes another death, very unfortunately. But this means that Ursula can go here, check the items, don't have to worry about having to come back later just for the bow. We'll still have to come back later to, do the dungeon, but you can do Ganon's tower, then mirror, and then do Agamon.
Yeah, so the potential payoff for anything here in Castle Tower could be huge. Just having it potentially half an hour to even maybe an hour ahead of your opponent, because, I mean, maybe it's something that, you find that Castle Tower in GT. You find that key there, and, you might not be back there until the very end.
You have one key, so you can check both items here, and you don't have to return back until you're actually in go mode. And then you can probably, hopefully, tie that in with Ganon's tower. While Death King decides, I'm not going to go back into Mire now, I'm going to go ahead and do Desert.
Now, I will say, though, that finding that bow where we did does increase the likelihood of boots being later in the logic, just because, we could end up only needing it for the silvers and maybe 1 or 2 locations. That could potentially not be holding anything of value.
This small key is... okay, I guess...
Oh, no!
That's an awful, absolutely awful location for that key to be in.
Oh, no! Oh, my God.
It's really good for Ursula, though.
Yeah, it's about as fantastic as it gets. That is simply the most amazing thing to find if you were expecting to leave.
Well, now you can beat this and activate the Dark World guards, I guess you can call them.
Yeah, that is a important thing to remember, is once you've defeated Aghanim 1, the world advances in a state, the rain state being the first state, and then, after Escape, after Aghanim 1, which increases the difficulty of the overworld enemies, so that could potentially be an issue for later.
Okay, so this has been in Logic for quite some time. Don't know how much we can take out of the boots logic, considering we have the bow. There is still that library key, whatever that is, but that has to be something like desert because of how the desert logic works, or turtle rock, or pod because it's pod.
Well, all the way to the back of Desert Palace. Death King not going to use that small key in the front, going to opt to get the guaranteed boss kill, which I think in Key Sanity all dungeons, probably a wise decision to start with.
Probably.
Of course, it could just be something else you need in the front, so, or even a key to that dungeon, which would be even funnier. We've already seen something like that. Nearly simultaneous boss fights, depending on how Death King's fire rod shots go. A little bit of shakiness in the first two worms here, so Death King will be at least 2 cycles, looking like 3.
Yeah, you could definitely be getting better patterns here. And I guess you can guess blue balls if you feel like doing that.
Alrighty, Landmole is only yielding arrows and some sort of crystal. Maybe a 5 or 6, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. That's 4 dungeons for Death King. Ursula is also going to be at 4 dungeons very soon. But Ursula is still in this very weird position where either needs to go Mire and beat Vitreous, or go get the mirror to actually get proper progression going.
Yeah, so Death King taking advantage of having that mirror in the first place. Gonna go check Checkerboard Cave, something Ursula did not have access to. Here in their Checkerboard Cave, we are not going to be deleting any blocks. That is 20 rupees, as Ursula is finishing up the Aghanim fight with presumably quite a few blue balls here.
Now, Death King, where are you going? You're going Swamp? You can do everything in Swamp except for the big chest.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the benefits of having this kind of kit to work with. Hook shot, the one key you need to get to the back part. You're going to get keys naturally in the dungeon anyway. Pretty friendly place to be looking right now.
Just digging deeper into the spheres, since you did get that small key over in Mire, which was Bombos locked, and Bombos was over in Eastern.
Alrighty, we are cash flush on Ursula's side, so there will be some potions bought here. A good long-term decision for the seed, I think.
Or is it sequence? Is it going back to Pod?
I mean, it could.
Mire.
I think it's just preparedness for Meyer, though.
So they must have checked earlier then that Mire is Bombos. We are just blind. Or no, they didn't actually check in. Now they do it. Okay. A little bit of forgetfulness here from Ursula's side.
Yeah, so far hasn't cost him yet, but it could have ended up being significantly worse if it weren't for some really amazing, fortunate decisions being made.
Do you have Ether over in Swamp? We don't need that for anything.
Yeah, so there might be some utility later in, say, Gen's Tower if you want to kill certain enemies, but probably not going to see that selected at all. However, if we had not checked Turtle Rock, we'd be a little more confident later for it.
I do think that in Death King's situation, you just go ahead and full clear the swamp. You're still looking for so many items.
Yeah, I agree. Since there's so many things still on the table, and any one of those would be very, very awful to go back to check. No reason not to just start left side. Alrighty, well, there's the first of the natural keys you get in the dungeon. Of course, you only need one key because you're going to pick them all up in the dungeon itself anyway.
Yep. And we don't need the B key to get to the boss because the game intends for you to get the B key to get hookshot so that you can get to the boss. Well, Pod is sneaking up.
Yeah, finding more pieces of the puzzle. I mean, we were only a key or two short from getting most of it done the first time around.
And we do know that there is a bow readily available.
Yeah, now that you've mentioned it, those are two checks that we didn't see in Palace of Darkness. That was Ursula went in, right?
Yeah, Ursula went in.
Yeah, so we didn't have a bow at that point. So there's two more spots in Palace of Darkness that will be checked first time around. If Death King manages to get that bow first. However, maybe won't. It's a pretty weird spot.
Yeah, that is true. We haven't seen that shovel either yet.
Or no, we saw Death King grab the shovel.
I mean, whatever you dig up.
The location.
I don't think Death King went and dug it up. Or did he?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so we haven't seen that at all. Good point. Yeah, so that's something on the table, and it's one of those things that, like, the more of those breadcrumbs you get, the more appealing it is to kind of, like, get led astray and do some slower one-off checks that could probably be chained together if you waited a little longer to do them.
But in this situation, you have myths, you have mirrors, so you'll be chaining together with the Smith Purple Chest in that case. Big key here. Okay, so you need a mirror in Hera to get the big key to Hera in Swamp. Great logic.
Wait a second, where do we... Oh, the mirror's in the lobby. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I thought for a second it was up top, and I'm like, wait, that doesn't add up.
Yeah, it was in the lobby. So you have to go in there and get the mirror, then go to Swamp, go left side, get the B key, and then you can climb it. I mean, it is key sanity, so double dips are to be expected by logic.
That is really tough for Ursula, though, because, I mean, if you were not doing Hera for not wanting to go in without a big key, to avoid Hera potting, for example, that's you getting punished as hard as possible for it.
The only way to prevent that punish is if that is your 5th crystal, because then you can just go straight into GT after. Of course, since the mirror is in there, that makes it a bit weird.
That being said, not exactly impossible either. Ursula would need to get that ice rod. Or potentially a book.
Yeah, where is that book? Will we ever find the book?
And of course, being that flute plus myths and mirror is just as valid a logical access, we might not find that book ever.
Yep, they never find it. Second turtle rock key. Just climbing, slowly climbing.
As Ursula is descending into the basement of Misery Mire, so opposite directions in these dungeons for these two, but both nearing their boss fights. Alrighty, a Master Sword Argus versus a Master Sword Vitreous. Looks like we're going to see an attempt at Spaghetti. No, Ursula was just dodging the spike.
Ursula will have the bow for this fight with 26 arrows. Will be a little bit more prepared than Death King.
Yeah, that's definitely a fight I would prefer to be in.
If you're Death King, where do you go from here? Like, going back into Mire to kill the boss? Or are you going to sequence break everything out of Ice Palace?
I mean, that almost feels more appealing because, I mean, you don't want to go back to Hera with that big key after you just, Hera potted. If there's other checks, you want to take those first. But I mean, yeah, I mean, the boss for Vitreous doesn't feel good. That's not much better equipment, really.
It's key sanity generally have pretty poor choices, and we're in poor choice territory.
Well, it looks like Ganon really investing in his bosses. Argus down, nothing but rupees to show for it. It is a crystal, though, so that's one more towards the count.
Yeah, Devkin only needs one more crystal to get into GT. Meanwhile, Ursula's just stabbing away at these eyeballs, and this looks like we will be seeing the shovel spot and the other locations over here be checked as well.
Yes, this will be a considerably more efficient Smith chain check as well. Really great position for Death King to knock all of that out at once, and we did not see a purple chest before either.
Yeah, and can end this with purple chest more effectively thanks to having the mirror.
Alright, well, interesting.
That is the key for Ice Palace. You know, I did mention I did earlier about sequence breaking Ice Palace and sequence breaking the pedestal. Yeah, I kind of like that right now. Oh, hey, Berna. So we have Spike Cave.
Yeah, so both potentially big finds, both potentially big busts. Not exactly conclusive information from either of their checks.
That is indeed true.
However, if you dig puns, well, don't worry, I've got a quarter of one to tell you. The piece of heart here, only a little bit loved.
Here we go again. Oh, we're going Ice Palace.
Alright, so, I mean, you find the big key for it. I mean, it's a pretty reasonable decision to make compared to before you find it. There's more checks to make. It's a lot friendlier to do in general. Not as confusing for the logic.
Guess what Ursula's doing?
A tougher choice. One that I personally would have been considering as well. So it's depends on how you intend to route it, really.
It's time for the synced Ice Palace. One has the big key, and the other one doesn't.
An hour and 21 minutes in, and same room.
Yeah, this is pretty uncommon to see. They are quite far away from each other due to the diversion we've seen. And both have 5 dungeons down. Just very different dungeons, only 2 dungeons are the same.
Each one missing each other's blue item, and then a mirror, of course, being kind of the big separating factor here.
And there's also the bow, but the bow doesn't do that much here. So, do you like walls?
I mean, they're kind of a bother. And, I could do without them. I'd love to just slide right through them, actually.
Yeah, walking through walls is just super convenient. Why are we seeing walls? No! I'm so sad.
However...
I'm sad. We even set that up so perfectly, but the players didn't want to.
Look, I mean, sometimes, you try to just put things on the right foot and, you try to break the ice and it doesn't work.
I feel so bamboozled.
Well, for those of you out there who are not familiar with the jokes that we're attempting to make here, there was a more recent addition to the permitted minor glitches list for the Racing Council, the Icebreaker, a way to abuse Link's door state, which allows you to ignore collision. That's a way to reroute this dungeon, depending on your key logic and how you want to do things. We did not see it from either of these runners, but something to keep an eye out for in other races.
Yep. Didn't see it here today.
Both of our runners pulling off bomb jumps, unfortunately for Ursula.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ursula did it on the first try.
All right, well, we're gonna get the DLC bomb jump here.
Free DLC.
Yo, nice. Alrighty, so back to the place where we would have been post an icebreaker. This is the bit where the big key is found in vanilla, or at least upstairs from here is. So
Yep.
we have all the keys we really need to do this.
Yeah, this is just a full clear of Ice Palace. Beach just included if you're a Death King. No. You don't need that key. We're done with Skullwoods.
You know, I feel like we're creeping up on the time where we should be finding these boots. You know, there are not a ton of places left. There is still a scenario for like GT, which would be very, very unkind.
I think you're 30 minutes too early to be talking about the boots.
Maybe.
Unfortunately. I mean, we may not need boots now that we found the bow.
Yeah, that's a good point. And of course, you know, we will have to complete every dungeon, and we've already... Well, it depends, I guess, where our small key for... Yeah, I guess we really don't need it. If Desert Torch isn't something we need,
I
yeah,
don't
we could get
remember.
away with it.
I mean, it could be something on GT Torch as well, but... Nah.
Yeah, the good news of that is that's much less likely.
Well, time will tell.
Yeah, I guess with 5 crystal requirement to get in there, that's something that does stack the favors a little higher for there being something of value in that spot. Even though, as I mentioned, you know, with the 22 something locations in the base of the floor.
I mean, they will probably both be full clearing GT, so we will know in due time.
Well, our Frozen campaign continues in the Tundra of the Ice Palace. Both of them, once again, in sync practically. Same room, so they've been keeping step in step, slip sliding their way through this whole thing.
Moment of truth here.
Yeah, this big key.
Oh, that's actually not progression, but it's really nice to have.
Yeah, that's coming in clutch, because, I mean, unless we find that 4th sword somewhere along the route, that represents a significant disadvantage for Ursula for the rest of this race.
Yeah, that's a big damage boost going from Master to Tempered. Ursula hasn't been to Ice-T room either, so we'll see if they're gonna route in that or not. But apart from that sword, hasn't been anything in here. Okay, we're skipping Ice-T room. There is nothing there, but Ursula's running low on spots. I don't know. Where are they going next?
Yeah, that's hard to say. Now, of course, we do have the potential of going back to Palace of Darkness. I think Ursula used all keys there, though.
Yeah, and they haven't gotten any new ones according to the tracker. Also, Colster is dead on the left side. This is the green pendant.
One more thing.
Yeah. This, if Ursula does kill this, we'll be able to pull the pedestal. Pedestal is pretty whatever in old onions because, it's old onions.
Well, it's definitely something additional on the table, so
Bow! Death King's getting bow!
that's big. Death King really needed to find that here to make the crystal selection, you know, coming up ahead a lot simpler. So that is that everything? That's all the items we need currently that we know of.
Quake is also something we need for Turtle Rock.
Yes.
We need a small key and big key for Turtle Rock. We need big key for Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, so that list is really getting short, particularly on the item front. Well, as expected, we're going to see one of the bow-locked crystals here, Palace of Darkness, presumably, but maybe Eastern Palace, depending on how Death King wants to route the two of them together, because you do have to do all of them anyway. So we'll be up to 6 crystals before we see GT for Death King. Or no, I'm sorry, we don't have the keys we need for... we don't have Palace of Darkness big key.
Yeah, we need that one as well. So you mirror here for the green pendant.
Yo, that door mirror was pretty slick.
Oh, okay. That puts desert into logic, and you have 2 items there now as well. And everything is just coming up Millhouse.
Yeah, certainly a lot of things to be optimistic about at this point. Knowing that you've kind of unraveled some of the more tangled strands of this logical progression. So Death King in a good position. We'll be checking Palace of Darkness here with 4 keys.
There is still a couple of ice rods left to find, but there's fewer on the list.
Well, as our runners cross over the 90-minute mark in this all dungeons key sanity 5-7 monstrosity that it has been so far for all things considered, I'd like to take a moment to remind everybody, if you like what you're seeing, you think these two are putting on a good show, I definitely think they are. Give them a follow on the Twitch pages.
Death King went in, opened the first chest of pod, and then mirrored out, exit, and then went into Easter.
Maybe thinking this is a quicker check. I don't know, or maybe just wants to have the possibility of finding that big key here. And oh, Ursula's short 500 rupees.
It's just a Ganon's Tower key, though, so it's not needed. But yeah,
The possibility of wanting to come back there.
they need to get to Hera. This is Hera. Yeah, this is Hera. There's no flute. There's the hook shot. Ursula's going to. They have the TR information. They know they can't enter. They've checked everything in Dark Death Mountain. And if they were going Spy Cave, they would be going up.
Alrighty, well, heading up to dungeons we've seen before and finishing dungeons we've seen before. We have not seen Death King do Armos, but Ursula did earlier. And then we saw Moldorm, but we didn't see the rest of Hera, so we'll get some new information, at least on one half of the screen. Death King will have quite a few dungeons to be ahead on after this, though.
Yeah, this is still pretty close. That castle tower key. Oh, it's gonna take a while for Death King to get there, I feel. Because now you finished Eastern, now you have Ganon's Tower in Logic, you're probably gonna full clear that, and then you can't do Castle Tower, but I guess you still just go. Because we know they can clear it, but they don't.
I mean, I think that's the toughest thing about it, too, is, like, you know, if you end up checking Castle Tower before you hit your item go mode, or before you can do, like, almost everything else, you know, you don't have to worry about it. It's way faster. But if you do it, like, late, then you're guaranteed to full clear everything you come across.
And as Ursula gets that mirror, do you think that is a confirmation that they're not that familiar with the Hera pot? Which is probably why that was skipped earlier.
Considering his choices, I'm going to flute actually over to the Mire area.
Yeah, Mire Desert. Or only Desert, because Mire's been done already for them.
Now, of course, we know that we're short a small key for checking the entire thing, so it'll be a very similar check to what Death King did earlier. So no time gained or lost in this decision. However, did we see Death King check the front of Desert?
Yeah, but not the right side. Can't remember what was here, though. probably a pod key.
Well, with the torch being a piece of heart, even more things pushing the boots further down the road. Of course, we could end up finding them pretty soon. There's some checks here Death King is making that we haven't seen yet here on the right side. And then has the keys to really, clear out pretty much all of this.
And we don't actually need that many more items. We need a GT big key. We need one Turtle Rock small key, Turtle Rock big key, and the pod big key.
Yo,
and Quake.
Do you see that clipped hard hat beetle?
Nope. I was using my fingers to count because I'm bad at math.
Yeah, I can relate on that front. No, but you know how you can clip into the railing because it's like half a pixel thing or half a tile thing? You did the same thing with an enemy.
Yeah, Death King just fell into a hole, unfortunately, so you have to redo that room.
However, if the hammer jump is desired, it is not, actually.
Nope. I mean, I guess you're just gonna end the route by checking that big chest if you get the big key along the way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then you just mirror back to the entrance.
In the meantime, gonna save some magic with the usage of the lamp here for Ursula, so likely to be using a lot of fire rod shots, or at least have a lot of rod shots available. So definitely in good position to do a faster fight than Death King's 4 cycle.
I will be needing at least 2.
Yeah, foiled by the sword strafe. Which, interestingly enough, I think is the exact same thing that happened to Death King, so a cycle saved here.
Yeah, that is another crystal. Another dungeon. 7 dungeons down for Ursula.
Yeah, total dungeon count similar. I mean, this is all dungeons, so despite the crystal advantage for Death King, that's not going to do a whole lot. However, the earliness of finding that mirror may end up being an important factor. As we talked about before, the dynamic of having checked things more efficiently with that compared to the nastiness of the Castle Tower key being in Castle Tower. It's really a toss-up at this point.
It's very difficult to say. This pod is so empty. So where are you going, Ursula? Swamp?
Yeah, I kind of think, like, knowing that where that mirror was, you want to just check mirror locations, anything blocked by it.
So you clear Swamp, you get your Hera big key, so you can go back to Hera. You know, if there's something in that big chest...
Yeah, potential for yet another swing.
Well, it's definitely been swinging a lot back and forth. Where's Death King going? I'm confused.
Oh. Oh?
What are you about?
I don't know. We're seeing some very strange puzzling pegs going on over here.
Death King may have thought they were playing Professor Layton for a while there.
Well, objecting to our feeble preconceptions about how railings work, Death King gonna take a fall, actually.
Yeah, that railing worked. I just feel like the players keep on baiting us, man. What is this?
Keep trying to, like, say the right thing in the moment, be all smooth about it.
Yeah, like super smart commentators, and and then the players are like, nope, we're not gonna do this.
The problem's me, not the players.
It's our fault for trying to be smarter than we actually are.
Well, I will say this much: these two have definitely done better in this scenario than my mind has kept up with. So I'm glad that they're the ones putting on the display, because this has been pretty exciting to watch. Even though I
Yes.
do think Key Sandy is frequently a snorefest.
Yeah.
Frequently.
Key Sanity is not very exciting. Oh, that was a TR big key in Dark
Until it
Maze?
does stuff like that.
Okay, well, that's one ice rod down.
What is it with ice rods? Like, I mean, why can't they just be like, shovels? Or I guess that's been memed to death already.
Because the ice rod is only needed for one thing, and all these big keys are basically only needed for two things: the boss and the big shot.
Well, it looks like if I'm adding up my 5 fingers correctly, because I'm counting on them, we have GT access for Death King, so that is a wealth of locations we can now access.
Yeah, and we're not gonna do a guessing game because we don't know where the big key is. We don't know if we can beat GT.
Alright, well, I'm gonna be a smart aleck about it and just say 14 anyway.
I'll say 140.
I like it. Somebody out there, I know that there are folks out there who keep track of these things, needs to come back and fact check us on this.
You know who you are. I don't.
Alrighty, well. Not the well, actually. We've already seen that. Ursula actually in Swamp Palace, draining a well or a waterfall of some sort to hopefully finish up the rest of Argus's gauntlet, so to speak. Whereas Death King potentially going to head up the gauntlet here in short order. It would be
Yeah,
quite long odds to find the GT big key here, but it's possible, and we haven't found it.
it's probably in GT. I mean, there's gotta be something in the dungeon, right? Right.
Yeah. If not that, something else. One thing I really love about different crystal counts, though, the less crystals in the cutscene here, it actually reduces lag a little bit, I think.
Wow, saving time.
Unfortunately, not over your opponent, but, anything that makes this game's engine run a little better.
Yeah. There's too many cutscenes in this randomizer. It's not often you hear dependent onion music in GT.
Wait, is that the pendant music?
Yeah. Oh, well, we got another Turtle Rocky. We got that ice rod down as well.
Yeah, so we're missing what? A Palace of Darkness big key and GT big key.
And Quake.
Yes, as we need a way to get in there. So
Yeah.
we'll see a tile room first here from Death King. Not as gambly, but still pretty funny.
I mean, still need a fair amount of items, so yeah. I mean, logically, we also need 2 pod small keys, but whatever.
Yeah, with having done a hammer yump, one of them already being kind of cut out of the equation, it's a little easier to not worry about it.
Wow, Tyler didn't have anything. I'm surprised.
Yeah, that's a little disappointing. All right, well, boots us right side here. A little perilous for Death King. Down to 2 hearts, has to be very quick to get through this door.
Now, there was one important item over here. Yeah, the Beaky Tahara was over there on the left side of Swamp. So Ursula may go back to climbing again.
Alrighty, well, having found all 7 of the things in the right side of GT Basement, Death King going to absolutely grab this key. And the key sanity, you don't pass up the free ones.
Nope. Search continues for the last few items. Will we need boots? That is required because
I don't know,
wait,
man.
it's 2 and 3. It could be swamp. It could be the swamp big key. It could be. It's 2 and 3. It's swamp, pod, or GT. We don't know if we need that. It's 2 and 3.
So, Marjevich, are you saying the mystery continues?
We're gonna be here for another half an hour.
I intend to use that time wisely.
Yeah, we better use that nicely. Well, we don't know if we need the boots or not, so I guess the pod keys are now just rolling in. Oh, it's the compass for GT and GT.
Alright, well, the guessing game, if it were here, is just made super simple. See, I appreciate that, because I can't count.
Yeah, counting is overrated. Okay, fetch. Okay, sure. I mean, it's still a safety item.
Yeah, I was definitely more excited for that for the safety factor. Anytime you gotta have a GT climb in front of you, potentially, because let's just say we do find it here, that's just a great asset to have. Alrighty, Ursula.
Proceeding through, yeah. Guess that's the
We had the same thought.
Yeah. We've been talking too much about this player. We gotta talk about the other one.
We're in GT, you know?
Oh yeah, wait. No, we sequenced. Death King sequence broke the bat.
Yes, that's true. So we know that it's not a fetch that we need to do.
It's been a long day. It's all Dungeons Key sanity.
Alright, one last chance for me to be some kind of foresight god, and unfortunately I'm not. So, a full heart container, another pod key.
Okay, so we have all 6 pod keys now, because Death King had 4 coming in here and the other 2 has been found. So, where is the big key? Is it on the torch? Or is that big key something else?
I'd laugh pretty hard if we searched for boots for a real long time and then found out that was Swamp Big Key.
I'd lie if I say that hasn't happened before, because it has happened before.
That's just nasty.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, chat loves that because they get to post a bunch of emotes, but the players hate it. Ursula has, however, been able to take down yet another boss.
So we are just 1 crystal away from GT for Ursula, so this might actually make Tower of Hera a really attractive play right now.
These are our last 4 checks in GT. Come on, Powder. There we go.
Well, Bob the Destroyer not going to let Death King make it down there too easily. We will get to see an Ice Armless fight.
I guess there's that one person who is just like, come on, Ursula, just go pull the pedestal already. You've been able to do that for 30 minutes.
Nah, you gotta build up the suspense first.
Yeah. Last location, blind pull the pedestal. For book.
Wouldn't that be just the most amazing way to cap this one off?
What a mystery. Okay, can we find the boots in here? We're going to Turtle Rock.
Well, the boots might remain an enigma, but the question of medallions answered here in GT after 22 locations were looked at. We are still lacking a big key, and we don't know which, but we will try to exhaust all other opportunities or all possibilities here in Turtle Rock next.
Yeah, I mean, this is not too bad if you find the boots in Turtle Rock, because then you just beat Turtle Rock and then you go back into GT and then you beat GT.
Well, a little bit of a high five, maybe a descending high five as Ursula jumps off the ledge there to head over to Hera, and then GT as Death King heads into Turtle Rock. So after Turtle Rock, which is completable for Death King, I gotta think Misery Mire is the next place you're looking just to try and kill the boss, as
Yeah.
that is a big key we don't know about yet.
If there is nothing in Turtle Rock, then you go and clear Mire. And we know that there's nothing there, since Ursula's already killed the boss. But where do you go after that? What do you have left? Like Pedestal, Spy Cave, Hera Basement, and Big Key, Skull Woods, Big Chest?
Did we actually turn in the purple chest?
No, I guess that's also a thing. You know, all these locations, they sound absolutely awful to check.
You know, there's nothing more fun than being 200 locations in, 2 hours in.
Yeah, I guess you just do something like Pedestal into Skullwoods, Big Chest into Purple Chest. Ursula, why did you talk to that hint? That's not a hint.
Look, the other person on the other end, I'm assuming, is Sahasrahla, since that's what it is in the base game. It's just
Yeah.
lonely. Didn't want, old boy Saha to be, in the dark, nobody around him.
In the base game, the light world are Sahasrahla and the dark world are Zelda. Oh, great. A single arrow. Just fantastic.
Well, not the awesomest find, but at least it's out of the way and out of mind. Death
Oh,
King can find TR small key.
okay, so I did miscount earlier, so that is the last Turtle Rock small key in Turtle Rock. So, okay, just go clear this dungeon then. Or maybe I didn't miscount. I don't know. No, wait, I counted pod keys. Whatever. Who cares? It's pod keys. Who cares about pod keys?
Yeah, certainly have a lot of them on Death King's side, but without that big key, I mean, it does not matter.
Nope.
And I believe he's already checked literally everything in there except for Helma.
Yep.
Well, that's an ice rod for Ursula. So the nice thing about his route will be that once Ursula actually has the quake from Ice Armor's room, I mean it's straight over to Turtle Rock. So depending on how Ursula gets to Ice Armos, this is looking closer and closer.
That is true. And Daphne will have to go back to Myra at some point as well.
I think the big question though is that tempered sword difference.
Yeah.
Where do we
Who's
find that
gonna
again? That was
bring
the
that
Ice
up?
Palace.
Ice Palace Big Chest. Ursula's not going back there for a long time. That's just not happening. Unless we are really going into some wild goose chase for something, but Ursula's probably checking other locations before that happens. So the question is, where's the fourth sword?
Here it's on Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, I've never played that, but where's the fourth sword?
There's a smaller little cartridge that you plug into the back of the. Oh, look, we're not going to go on an adventure for these boots. These two runners will. But the fourth sword, the golden sword, that is still unanswered. It's an enigma. It's a mystery.
Another day.
So here's something that we hadn't had a chance to really talk about yet. Mimic Cave. That is something that's in our path. It's basically a part of Turtle Rock, but still one more thing that would be pretty funny.
Yeah, if you're only missing one item here, you tend to just go in and check the big chest first, because it will be faster if that chest has it. But we're looking for multiple items here, so just go check Mimic Cave first, get nothing except vanilla, and go back into Turtle Rock.
Alrighty. Well, it looks like Ursula gonna pick up the powder heading full left, it looked like. Or maybe Ursula, yeah, full left. So that's going to be beneficial to find that quickly.
Hera small key.
And while that's like not great, at the same time, you're at least already up in the mountain.
Yeah, I guess that can. If boots aren't here, you go and check that, and then you go to Spy Cave, and if you still don't have boots, you go Meyer probably to go get that dungeon cleared.
So is it going to be Boots Laser Bridge today? It's starting to feel like it.
I mean, it's Randomizer. We're moving towards a laser bridge.
I gotta say, your prediction earlier of being about half an hour later before we're even really thinking about it, kind of accurate.
I feel like this happens to me way too often. But I mean, it's all dungeons key sanity, and we're almost 2 hours in, and I mean, still a fair amount of dungeons left. This is pretty par for the course, to be honest. Do remember, Death King still has to do Castle Tower, and that second Castle Tower key is in Castle Tower.
The last place you would ever want to see it. And
yeah.
I don't know if we ever found out about 5-6 crystals. The pyramid may end up being a consideration.
Oh yeah, that's also a thing. I don't know what the other 5-6 is. We don't have it though, so it's ALTTPR.
Oh no. Yeah, that's one more thing that could take us away from, or either put us on the path or take us away from it.
I do think in Death King's position, you would just go ahead and do Pyramid Ferry into Castle Tower in that case. Ursula not familiar with this bomb jump, so kind of like the torch instead.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people just forget you can do. I've seen it actually in a lot of races. So good piece of knowledge there for Ursula.
Death King has no invulnerability item and no boots for this laser bridge.
Oh, and that wasn't a heal.
I mean, this laser bridge has been pretty dull, unless the redemption of death occurs to bless the seed.
Just 2 more things in Turtle Rock can potentially be of value to us. 1 more on the laser bridge, 1 more behind a 3-necked fellow.
Our best friend in some universe. This is taking some time. Ursula's gonna get the Quake there to get that Turtle Rock access. Still has right side left to check, alongside Tile Room. Wow, that was a very disappointing bridge, but hey, you got the full fill.
I will say, if there's a time to get that refill, right there feels probably better than a lot of spots.
How did that knockback work on that thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was kind of Samaria block thrown, right?
Yeah, and it like hit it on the back or something? I don't know.
In my professional opinion, you know, with my PhD and Link to the Past, game's weird, man.
Yeah, that sounds probable.
Alrighty.
Bachelor's of Random Science.
I did a summer program to learn cactus dashes. Alrighty, Trinex getting absolutely eviscerated with this Tempered Sword half magic double rod combo.
Yeah, this is a pretty straightforward fight, way easier than the laser bridge. But the question is, are we getting an item here that will progress the seed?
And stay tuned, we have a sponsored explosion.
Okay, we're going back into GT. We're going back into GT. I can't say I'm shocked by this development.
Well,
I guess we don't. We go back into GT and we grab the big key, and then we hope that that big key isn't swamp.
Yeah, I mean, like, no matter what it is, you're just going to be relieved to have figured it out. But Death King will dash forward here ahead of Ursula.
Wait, Death King, what are you?
Uh-oh.
Um, uh, we're doing Meyer first. What?
I don't agree with this.
I am very surprised by this. Like, there's a big key right there. You need 2 of the 3 remaining big keys. Why are you? Death King is killing my brain here. Truly is the Death King.
I could call that nothing but befuddled as far as my reaction. Oh my goodness. Now, that's not going to be necessarily gigantic time sink. I mean, climbing the mountain stinks. But,
Could
I
just be the
mean,
Swamp Big Key. You don't need it for anything. Like,
that's a 50-50 gamble for potentially the race at 2 hours in, though. I mean,
yeah.
wow.
Okay, so which small key is on the library then? Because there's not that many small keys left.
There's still a chance for that to be a pod key.
Yeah, I guess it is a pod key. And what more? Isn't there like 3 keys in ice? Or am I misremembering things?
You can get a freestanding key.
Okay, yeah.
I think it probably... Well, it could be a GT key.
Yeah, because it's GT.
Although I'm not exactly sure on the count for that either. That's interesting, because if that's a key read, then wow. Like, I mean, that's presence of mind. We'll find out, I guess.
I'm just baffled by that save and quit. You also got the Hera small key in Turtle Rock, and you don't pursue that either? And you are not pursuing the bonk locations either? Maybe save and quit after this to Sanctuary, bonk rocks into pedestal.
So, I mean, like, you already have the boots. You know, maybe that's just, Death King thinking, hey, that was what I needed. That was the one thing that was blocking stuff for me. Because, there are several boots checks.
Maybe... I'm sorry for interrupting you, but maybe it is related to lacking the second castle tower key. Doesn't want to go back into GT until you get the second castle tower key so you can route GT into castle tower.
Yeah, it is really tough. I mean, I would love to be a fly in the wall for that moment, when Death King decided to do this. Because, I mean, there had to have been a very specific reason. And we'll ask him in the interview if he decides to give one.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Well, on the bright side, it has Tempered Sword to work with for this Vitreous fight, so a considerably safer fight.
Yeah, no bumps. Also got the bow. Didn't have the bow earlier as well.
Alright, so there's just one regular dungeon remaining after that for Death King with no big key for it, and we now have the means to pull the pedestal as well.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a pedestal pull. While Ursula's going through Turtle Rock, we're gonna mirror Flute to Cack. Oh yeah, we have Right Side Desert, we haven't seen that. Where was that key?
I mean, it was in a weird place, I remember that much.
Yeah. Ursula doesn't have it, so it was definitely weird. Pod, right? Mason pod.
Sounds believable enough to me.
Well, Cape doesn't do anything.
Yeah, truly no implications from that specifically, and the 300 rubies not really helping us in that favor either.
No, we are definitely moving towards 100%ing the seed. Which is to be expected, because it's all Dungeon's key sanity. Alright, cool. We're pulling the pedestal. Or maybe we're first going to the Dark World to check the Skullwood's big chest.
Yeah, that seems like a likely first thing to do.
Yeah, that thing's been available for quite some... No, we're not. I'm a loss for words here. Purple chest?
Maybe it's the 2 hours plus factor. A lot of racers out there, no matter where you are in the race, no matter how you're actually doing against your opponent,
Okay.
you might feel a little bit thrown off. So, like, Death King had a surefire big key, but is opting to, kind of do other things instead. Either that's a forgotten big key, or there's something else going on in Death King's mind that we can't speak to here.
Yeah, this just seems like a very weird priority of locations to go with right now.
But I mean, at the same time, we said something similar about Ursula earlier in the seed, and then he ended up pulling up a hook shot on Catfish.
Yeah.
So we'll see if there's something really critical behind the chain of checks that Death King's going to do, because we didn't see Purple Chest at all.
Yeah, I presume this will be Purple Chest. I guess this also brings up an interesting question. Can you pull the pedestal while you have the Purple Chest with you?
I don't think there's strictly anything against it. I don't think followers is considered in the code for it. I genuinely don't know, though.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Since that is such a insane scenario to consider in the first place.
Well, it's Randomizer. Gotta ask the weird questions, because this feels pretty weird,
Sanity not required.
It takes a fool to remain sane.
Well, a broken clock is correct twice a day. Unfortunately, it's not that time right now. So, having done the full Smith chain, Death King going to go get the small key that we saw before, and this might give him some more information, or not.
We're gonna get the small key in the library. But what can this be that's useful? I mean, we know it isn't Castle Tower. Maybe that's what Death King is thinking. That's a
super frustrating key to get.
That's so anticlimactic. Like, yay. I got the boots from Trinex. I can get a Skull Woods.
That is a soul-crushing key to get.
Okay. Ursula is going somewhere.
Yo, sink again.
Wait. Ursula doesn't have boots? Wait. What? Ursula didn't kill Trinex?
Yeah, now that you mention it.
What happened? What did we miss? Oh yeah, it doesn't have the beaky. Wait, where was the Turtle Rock beaky?
Wait, wasn't that in Tile Room? No.
No, Tile Room. Oh, it must be Pod?
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Oh dear.
That is a super rough break.
Oh, small key to my chest. Like the Death King's just being bamboozled by all these small keys.
Ganon turning out to be quite the matador today, just going away.
It's finally time for the pedestal to be pulled for 3 bombs. So we haven't seen... Have we seen Graveyard Ledge? It doesn't matter.
No. Finally time for the pedestal to be pulled.
Yay.
For 20 rupees.
Yeah, something like that.
2 hours, 7 minutes into the race. And finally, we will see the pedestal. What anticlimactic conclusion will this be? Will this be the other big key? That would be exciting.
It is going to be the amazing heart piece. We have truly been blessed.
Well, a slight edge towards keeping ourselves afloat, a heart pumping with a little bit of extra blood. Death King, perhaps, his heart dropping a little bit with that.
I'm just shaking my head. I mean, there's no camera on me, but I'm literally shaking my head right now.
One might be even shaking their SMH.
Yeah, we're shaking the shaking.
All right, well, this would be a situation I would call a salty situation for any runner. You have done all the things that are like emotionally destructive. Your plus 2 hour pedestal. Gonna go check the lumberjack now, or grab the bow. I believe he already checked that earlier, didn't he?
Ursula checked it early. Death King doesn't know this, but you know you can't grab the bow. Yeah, you have to go to Castle Tower to get the other key. Looks like Ursula is handing in the green pendant, I think, and maybe setting up Pod with this. There's a bow. There's silver arrows. Okay, Death King, where are you going? Graveyard Ledge, maybe? If you hadn't checked that earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, Sahasrara has a small key to... Oh yeah, Sahasrara had the small key to Desert, and Turtle Rock had the big key to Turtle Rock. Or Pod had the big key to Turtle. It's been 2 hours. Yeah. I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Would really love to have some bacon already.
No, bacon sucks.
This may change the
implications of our future. Okay! Okay! I guess we're going to Pod!
The slow march towards completion. Finally getting another step. Death King doesn't know this, but this is our no mode. As Death King still does need that Castle Tower key and does not know where to find it.
It's not. There's still 2 big keys in Swamp and Ganon's Tower. We don't know what's on the torch.
Oh, right.
We're still at this 50% now. We went from 67 or 66, whatever 6s, to something being on the torch required. Now it's 50.
We're one check away from frustration mode.
You have to go into Pod to get the Turtle Rock big key, so you can beat Trinix to get the boots, so you can get the Pod big key.
Yeah, because it's not a King's Tomb.
Why is every dungeon this seed require double dip? Or most of them.
Yeah, it's been pretty much that way, though. And Ursula here trying to think of what the next check is going to be. Don't blame him. This is an awkward position to be in. We'll end up heading into Palace of Darkness, which is the right decision.
I think it's only like Pod and Spy Cave left. Definitely it's like, oh, yeah, I'm in the light world. I need to go into the dark world. I mean, we're pretty much 100%ing the seed.
So if I'm adding things up correctly, and again, we've already qualified, we're not mathematicians here, but yeah, we've really exhausted just about everything we could do. And we found pretty much all the keys, except for one.
And welcome to Old Onion's Key Sanity.
Yo, are we synced again?
This has happened way too often, but one player has boots and the other one doesn't.
And yet they're still not gaining.
This is so
okay,
silly.
There we go.
So Death King's just gonna go straight to the boss. Probably killing the boss before getting the big chest checked. I mean, Death King only needs 1 item for go mode here.
Just a critical...
Well, 2, and need a Castle Tower key as well.
You know, though, I mean, maybe it's a Helmasaur book. You know, we haven't seen everything yet, have we?
Yeah, Helmasaur book, great. How did that block miss? Okay, sure.
Okay, Pod book in Big Chest would be also hilarious.
Oh yeah, hilarious. Remember, Ursula still has a crap ton of awful checks left, like the Ice Palace Big Chest for a sword upgrade.
Yeah, the hardest part about this too is that Ursula has no options for doing this in one go, while the big chest isn't the important part about having that big key. Helmasaur is, and being all dungeons, Ursula has no choice but to come back here later.
Oh.
Yikes.
Big chest was 3 bombs. We're gonna go kill the boss. Oh, Turtle Rock was the other 5-6, so we do have Pyramid Fairy open.
The seed just keeps providing.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say providing the maybe the humor, but it's definitely not providing them the big keys they need.
It's all Dungeons Key sanity. I'm not very surprised by these developments. Hey, remember when we were in Kakariko and we had like 2 big keys and 6 major items? Yeah, those were the good days, right?
Oh, good times. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
2 hours later.
Well, these two have certainly attempted to put on their best angler skills, trying to fish out the items and the keys and everything, but having to go twice at all of these, not a lot of fun as a runner.
So Eastern, I think, had required double dip. Pod required double dip. GT almost certainly required double dip. Hera required double dip, but you could sequence break it. We haven't seen Hera Basement. Smokey was in Turtle Rock.
So just to speak a little bit about the two teams here, Death King's team is 5-1 currently. Ursula currently 2-4. This is kind of an important match for both of them to either advance in their division, Skullwood's division, or to keep their second place.
Yeah, for Feline Paralysis, it's basically a must-win situation here to have a shot. While for Uppsala Sauschnicht, a win here would just help solidify a top position in the group. Ursula got the B key. Defkin kills a boss and gets the perfect reward.
And checked under his chair, and it was bees.
Is that a joke I'm not getting?
Like an Oprah reference. You get a bee, you get a bee, everyone gets bees.
But I don't want bees.
All right, well, so we're not going to turn that in for any rupees. Unless somebody wants to be funny with bee strats, that's something we're going to dump as soon as we have something to put in the bottle. Which I'm actually a little surprised that Death King didn't just buy potions right then.
Yeah, a little bit. I guess Death King is going Pyramid Fairy into Castle Tower?
I guess you really don't need potions in this situation. Half magic, lots of hearts, red mail. And then, yeah, if you really wanted to buy one, you'd have a chance right before Ganon.
Yeah. I mean, you do have some rupees you can spend, right?
Right. So, I mean, it's not like it's a, cash strap situation, despite how cash strapped it was at the beginning of the race.
Oh, yeah. Didn't have rupees for Sora. Ursula still hasn't checked Sora. Definitely had to farm like 150 rupees outside of Ice Rod Cave. So, the big key to GT is what's left. Is it on the torch? Or is it somewhere else? There's not that many spots where it can be.
There's only so many other ice rods out there that it could be at.
It could be here, it could be hidden behind the book. Wherever the book is.
And...
Okay, great. Fantastic. Lovely. So shocked. I am so shocked by these developments in this hot garbage seed. I guess we're checking Bubbles tablet. No, we're doing Castle Tower first and then clearing Aga 1 because we can do that. I mean, is anyone really surprised by this? Come on.
I guess I'm disappointed in myself for thinking this is huge though. Death King going to go into the Castle Tower, which is really important for him.
Yeah, because you get the second Castle Tower key in here, and then it's just like, oh, I guess I only need one big key. So is it hidden behind the book, or is it on the torch in GT?
So I gotta think, with those available options, you haven't seen a dot done from your opponent. You kind of think, hey, they're probably dealing with the same sort of ridiculousness as you are. If you're in Death King's shoes, I think you check Bombos, then you go up the mountain.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, there's a small key to Castle Tower. Death King is... Don't select that mirror. I was worried for a second. There's a small key to Hera for Ursula. I mean, I guess the big key could be there as well. But I think Ursula is just going to go straight into GT after this.
Yeah, hard to see why you wouldn't. I mean, Ursula will have the boots as well from Trinex, right?
Yeah. But then that pod B key is in Bonk Rocks. And I do feel like Death King is ahead here.
Oh yeah, I agree with all of the really difficult checks to choose from. I mean, it's possible for Ursula to pick exactly the right ones. It's just statistically less likely.
And Death King has checked more locations, and Ursula has some weird ones like Sora and Ice Palace Big Chest. And of course, the sword advantage is still an important factor.
I will say it's very impressive that Ursula's kept, so close, all things considered, with the sword deficit. I mean, it's been like an hour. That's pretty tough to hold on to.
Yeah, I guess gaining some time from killing Beatrice and Meyer on the first visit and Death King having to go back there later really helped. So I've forgotten how many blue balls it was earlier, so if chat can be nice and not spoil, we can do the guessing game again.
All I remember was numerous.
That's a number.
It is many, actually.
Yeah, it's a number that exists.
Are you saying it's real or irrational?
Number's real.
Euler?
What?
All I'm saying is if we had 15, there'd be like 32-something thousand, one that number odds. So we probably won't see that.
I'm not getting these references.
Honestly, I'm not either.
That makes sense.
I'm hoping some smarter people than me in chat are going to respond to that with smarter humor.
That implies that there's at least some degree of intelligence between the two of us, right?
Look, I'm leaning on you for this broadcast.
What?
Why did you think I signed up?
Does it sound like I have the voice of someone who's smart?
I mean, yes, you signed up for this one, so I mean, it's questionable. This has been a quite an escapade.
I mean, I'm just happy it wasn't entrance shuffle. Maybe it would actually have been easier with entrance shuffle.
Yeah, some of the things we've had to do in this race might have been a little bit nicer.
Maybe. Come on.
Tell you what, though, you don't gotta wait long. It's next week.
Yeah, cross keys, fun.
All right, so a critical juncture yet again for Death King, as having pretty much exhausted most of the game, has just a couple of things available to him. Spike Cave, as you mentioned before. What else? We have... I'm trying to think.
And the torch in GT.
Yeah.
We're going straight up the mountain.
So we will leave Bombo's tablet behind, and it's not like this is a bad decision either. It's not the one that I personally would have preferred to make, because, at this point you kind of want to be thorough, at least I feel like. But at the same time, like, if it ends up being up here in either of these two locations, then you save time over doing the other check.
I think the seed is a prime example of why we haven't had another Key Sanity tournament since 2017.
I can't speak to that. It sounds pretty rational to me, though.
I think everything about this is irrational. So Ursula got the boots. Will Ursula go back into GT? Will they be synced going into GT again? Another sync this seed?
It would be pretty funny.
Okay, everyone, time to guess which B key is on the torch. It's either GT or it's Swamp.
So, I mean, we could have a GT big key guessing game of sorts.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
1 if you think it's Swamp, 2 if you think it's GT.
Oh, I can count to 2. I can join in this game.
1.5? No, I'm gonna guess this is gonna be the swamp. We need this to be as stupid as possible.
Yeah, we need that degree, I guess. Well, here's the lovely countdown.
And
3, 2, 1. We're in go.
the so infrequently seen GT big key on Torch. In a key
Require
sanity.
double dip.
Yeah, you require double dip GT big key on Torch. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Death King now has a massive lead. Like, it's not even fair. Ursula has to go and do pod after this, and first needs to find the big key over in Bonk Rocks.
Yeah, and so given the available checks for Ursula, this is not completely insurmountable, but it takes some gigantic, mistakes from Death King to give up this lead. What is exciting, though, is we will get to see them side by side in the gauntlet.
Yeah, the Sword Edge again from Death King. How long has the Sword Edge existed?
I'm pretty sure it's well over an hour at this point.
Probably. I mean, that's not even half this race, so yeah. So when are we having some sort of, like, I don't know, 500 player mystery tournament?
That sounds real scary. I'm going to stay about 500 players away from that.
I mean, that's how far away I stay from participating in any tournament. You're welcome into my club. We got jackets.
Yo, bomber jackets? I'm all for that.
You will have to pay extra for that. Bombs are expensive.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, I mean, our runners having crossed over the 145-minute mark. Good lord. 155-minute mark? I can't even count. There's a lot of minutes so far in this race, and they've been going through this endurance fest, a gauntlet of sorts, as they go through the gauntlet. Definitely would like to encourage everybody watching, if you haven't already, go follow these two runners. They're really troopers for going through this.
Yeah, I mean, big props to anyone who wants to go through this madness, and this could have been very different. Ursula just goes into Tower of Hera on that first climb with the hook shot, gets the mirror, and allows the routing to be much more efficient.
Yeah, so if you're
factors.
If you're tuning in, late to the race and you see what appears to be a very close race between the two of them, the one thing that is separating the two of them because of the dungeon requirement today is all dungeons. We have everything else that we need, though. However, that does put Death King in a distinct advantage over Ursula, who has already done Palace of Darkness, so just needs to finish this Aga 2 fight and then finish off Ganon to be done.
While Ursula needs to go to Boncrocs and get that pod big key. I was falling into a hole there.
That actually kind of sounded like it.
I'm genre savvy, I guess.
Well, as we round the corner into Torches 2, Death King, pretty decent resource management right now with a nice bonk, actually. Not always seen in that room. Doesn't really need to be looking through any of these chests. Not going to pilfer anything but silvers if we... Or no, we know where those silvers are. He's not going to get those at all.
Yeah, the silvers had Lumberjack. I mean, you can go and get them if you want to. Remember when we thought that was the first bow, when we thought, oh, that's a clear tell it's all dungeons. Well, it was all dungeons, but that wasn't the first bow. Well, maybe you could actually have gotten that bow before the other one.
Those are better times.
Where was Mushroom again? Does anyone remember where Mushroom was?
It was Eastern Big Key Chest.
Oh! Ursula did find a sword, though. Oh yeah, Eastern Big Chest, so you needed lamp for that. I guess they were in the same sphere logic, maybe, then?
Yo, I can't believe there was really a tempered sword up here?
Yeah, it was. Can you imagine? A sword in GT? Oh, oh no! Are you kidding me? No! Wait, didn't
Oh,
kill the enemy?
yeah, there's a helmet store here. We got this. We're good.
Yeah, okay. The enemy is alive. Okay.
Wow, my heart sank through the floor.
You're 2.5 hours into a race like this, like your brain is not working the way that it should.
You know, though, you gotta imagine the sigh of relief from Ursula on that.
Yeah. I guess Aga 2 is dead. That seemed fast.
Yeah, Death King absolutely roasted him. There was a triple in all of those 2 or 3 cycles. I think it was like a 3 cycle.
And we will never find out what is in the big chest of Ganon's Tower. Can you imagine an all Dungeons Key Sanity where the Ganon's Tower big key was actually the go mode for one of the players?
Yeah, it's kind of a strange way to finish this standard opening. This was a standard seed, by the way.
Yeah. Well, for Ursula, the go mode is the pot big key. When I also believe that is the intended. No, wait, that's in the same sphere logic as the GT big key. Where's the swamp big key?
We have never found it.
So it's probably locked in itself.
Yeah, that's a possibility, or it could be in the GT big chest.
Or Spy Cave. I still don't think we checked Spy Cave.
No, I'm confident we never did. Could even be Bombos or Ether.
Yeah. So I guess that's a completion rate of like 200 something.
It is certainly elevated. It is many. It is numerous. It is a plentitude, a cacophony of pain and suffering.
Well, King only has one phase. Phase 3 is whatever.
The King of Thieves versus the King of Death. Apparently the rematch by his name. This is a somewhat scary situation just because of these fire bats, but...
Yeah. So, you were saying, Yudai?
There are some things I'm great at calling, and unfortunately that's one of them.
I mean,
all right, well,
perfect way to end the siege, you know, falling to Ganon.
and you got to think like this is like super nervous moment too for Death King in this situation.
Yeah.
Is you've been at 2 hours and 30 minutes, and something like that happens. You're expecting the dot done any second.
Ursula's getting the big key. We'll be in go mode. But you know, it's still, you have to go back up the pod. There you go. Go mode.
Yeah, 2 hours 31 minutes almost. That is also when we get the refight here from Death King with a decent pattern for a 1+2 here. Or I'm sorry, 2+1.
Math. Did Death King take out the cape just to not use it?
Maybe. So, interesting nuance about this fight is that Ganon's warp patterns are consistent between the two runners for their first fight. Death King here is now at the mercy of the original game's RNG, which means that every time that Ganon has an opportunity to warp, he has a 50-50 chance of warping or not warping, and that can go indefinitely.
Yep.
But it was not indefinite today. That's pretty friendly overall.
Yay! Ganon is a good friend.
Yeah, he loves to give hugs.
Yeah. Nice little massage.
Alrighty, well, looking for 12 total spins to do this silverless. Death King in good shape. Looks like 4 down so far.
Can do 3 per cycle with the help of the fire rod, but Death King is just playing the safe. Oh, looks to be going for a triple here. Oh, never mind. It happened again. This is getting closer than it should be, honestly. That was a whiff. How was that a miss? Oh, come on, Ganon. There we go.
That was a really good recovery to get that last spin there. That was real close. Alrighty, well, it may not have been a sprint. It may have been more like a 5K or 10K, but Death King will pull off the victory today with an official SRL time in first place of 2 hours, 33 minutes, and 32 seconds. Get your GGs in chat, folks.
Another win for Ursula4115.
Well, speaking of, German victors, who is actually also restreamed on SG Deutsch, our Victor, I believe, has joined us, Death King 2. Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's a sigh of relief.
More or less. I just think my endgame, well, maybe already after Thiefstone was just too bad. I mean, for example, when I left Turtle Rock and instantly mirrored and fluted away, thought was, did I really just did that?
It just seems like every single curveball that this race, the seed, could have offered you, it did. It threw all of them at you. One after another, after another, after another.
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever regret the name choice of your team? I mean, I'm pretty sure you lived up to that every single check of this seed.
Well, we just wanted to let the people know what we will be doing. And as long as we are winning, it's fine, I guess.
Well, it certainly must feel really great for you and your team, bringing you up to a team total of 18 points, which is a really strong position within this division.
Yeah, I guess till now we did quite fine.
So, I mean, this being the 6th win, I believe, unless the website hasn't been updated, 6-1 compared to the first place team, Team Awesome, which is the returning champions. This bodes pretty well for you to make it into the postseason as long as you guys continue to do pretty well. But are we expecting to see you for any of the remaining races of the regular season?
Well, let's see. I don't know how this will work out.
Well, on the bright side, Key Sanity, certainly something you got a lot of practice in for today.
Well, normally I thought I was quite practiced since I played kind of a lot of cross keys and mysteries before. Don't know what happened today, but well, I found every single key except for the Swamp Big Key. Well, yeah, that's quite some experience now. I just hope the next mystery seed I play won't be a standard. Every single league mystery I practiced was with standard.
Yeah, so I mean, that ended up being kind of the situation we saw today. I did want to ask you about something. There was one question we had that we were real curious about. Marjevich, it was the when we're still looking for the big key, right? Because we saw one on Ganon's Tower's torch, but you didn't go back
Yes.
for that after getting boots.
I don't know what happened there. I had the boots. I just thought, oh, all right, now let's see what I can get else. And right after I fluted away, I thought, damn it, there was the big key. Why didn't I go for it? And then I just thought, okay, I made it. I was away. Let me look somewhere different first. before I go back, and it's just this one big key. Well, surprise, it wasn't.
Yeah, I guess it ended up working out anyway, because like you said, you did check Boots' locations after, found that Palace of Darkness big
Yeah.
key in Bonk Rocks, so it worked.
Somehow, at least.
Well, I will say that both of you played really well today. This was one of those seeds where, no matter how well you read it, you were definitely bound to have a weird situation or two. Or a 20.
Yeah. Boots were quite mean located. At the beginning I thought, did I skip them at Aga's Tower, but I didn't want to go there with just one key. Who would have thought that there was this other key already lying?
Well, we knew that for like an hour and a half because Ursula went there pretty early.
Well,
we were more wondering about that bow on Lumberjack that Ursula checked immediately after escape, and oh, that was actually the second bow.
Yeah, I just thought, nah, let's not check it that early, since I just have to find the keys before I get it. I need to find the boots, so it would be quite back located in the seat. And since the boots were on Trinex, I think I was right.
Well, on that note, we did see Ursula finish and cross over the Ganon portal here with a second place time of 2 hours, 39 minutes, and 7 seconds. So, folks, warm GGs to Ursula as well. I believe Ursula's actually in the chat. So if you have any questions for Ursula, you can actually ask directly.
Oh, I think I'm out for the German interview now.
Absolutely. Folks, if you haven't seen it, Speed Gaming Deutsch actually is a place where you can hear German commentary for German runners and, of course, German commentators who want to talk about these games. So, congratulations, GG. Thank you for joining us for this interview and for putting on this race for us.
Thanks for the restream. Bye.
Take care, man. Well, is it time to end this?
It's approaching. I think we probably want to let at least some of the credits scroll, and I guess before we end the stream itself, we'll let that finish. But as far as the schedule goes for today, we do have a match. These are all, of course, Eastern time because, you know, we're super NA-centric, like everything on the internet. But at 5:10 p.m. Eastern time, SG3 has a race. 6:10 has 2 races, one on SG6. Yeah, that's right, SG6, and one on SG4. At 7:10, the ALTTPR League. 8:10, the ALTTPR League 2. 2 more races that aren't even restreamed at that time, and one more at 9:10 p.m. on SG6. So a lot of rando ahead. This was just the first race of the day.
Yeah, and they may be just as intriguing as this one. Or maybe they will be half as long, I don't know.
A spooky, ethereal nature to the mystery of these seeds.
You can enjoy that mystery by following all the Speed Gaming channels at 1 through 6 and the ALTTPR League 1 through 4. You can also do it by thanking our lovely tracker, Dark Diplomat.
Yeah, we didn't actually mention it at all at any point during this broadcast, but Dark Diplomat doing the very difficult job of keeping track of all of these keys, all of these items, much more to do in this kind of race. So big shout outs and big thanks. And of course, Marjevich for joining me. Thank you for inviting me to do so as well. It was a lot of fun.
Always a pleasure, Yudai. Always a pleasure. For better or worse.
Hey, I think sometimes I have more fun just because I'm tormenting you.
I enjoy that degree of torment, I guess. You gotta accept it. But I think, with all said and done, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you all in the not too distant future.
Yep, stay tuned. Another show coming up here in 7 minutes. I've been Udaimonistic, joined today by Marjevich. Have a wonderful day, folks.